All right, I'm going to show you how to use ChatGPT to automate your prompting. And that's crazy because we're using prompting to automate every other industry. Why not? Why, if ChatGPT is good at all these other tasks, and why wouldn't it be good at prompt engineering as well? So this is a screenshot from a paper here, and they called it Automatic Prompt Engineer. They basically used, I think it was ChatGPT or GPT-3 back then, to basically infer what the instructions were if they give example responses, and then if they specific instructions, what would the instructions be? So it comes back with the log probabilities, so these are the different potential responses, and then it basically then ranks them. And I found that it was a human level in terms of prompt engineering. Then there have been a few other papers that have come out since then, including one that found a better prompt than Let's Think Step by Step. It does pretty well there in terms of accuracy. And then there's a few other ones as well. If you remember, there was going around the internet this whole take a deep breath and then think step by step prompt that people were sharing. That was also using an automatic prompt engineer option. So anyway, this is pretty interesting. I think in some cases it might work better than humans at prompt engineering. What I found is, at the very least, it's very good at getting you up to above average prompt straight away without you having to think very much. Let me show you, I have a couple of these, but I'll start with this one. I put this together based on a lot of testing, but what I found was useful in the system prompt is to actually tell it you're an expert in prompt engineering. Previously, that wasn't very helpful, but now it knows what prompt engineering is with the latest updates. It's updated, I think, to April last year. So now it knows what prompt engineering is, and previously this didn't work, but now it does. And we just basically tell it you'll be given a prompt template, one or more test cases. Your job is to optimize the prompt template using prompt engineering best practices. But what I've done here is I've gone a little bit further and given it the best practices. Now I've told it what prompt engineering is, just to get it in the right part of latent space without making sure it's not thinking of some other prompt engineering. And then these are the actual best practices. And these are ones that I came up with as part of my book that I'm writing for O'Reilly Media. So these are the first three principles. I found that they're quite useful. And then the other thing you have to put in here is the standard stuff like respond only with your optimized prompt and nothing else. Don't cheat by including test cases in the prompt, that sort of thing. The place I got this, or at least the basics of this without the principles, is there's a tool called Prompts Royale. And I think that they reference another paper that kind of uses this, but I looked into their code, which is open source on GitHub, and saw what was working for them for system analysis. Feel free to take a look at that as well. They've got a bit of a different approach to this. Anyways, what I found is if I put in the prompt template, and what's different with mine as well is I put these actual variables in here, which is, I think, really helpful for me at least. And the way this would work is if I want a list of product names for this product, then and then these are some examples. What I found with the test cases is that you couldn't put them in JSON very easily. You had to put it in more in a YAML format or Markdown format. Here we have the product description variable in the template, and we were just trying to give kind of example values. So here I've put a shoe that can fit any foot size, and then the response would be these. And I've just given, this is one shot, so I've just given it one example. But then the other thing that I found worked really well was adding these criteria evaluation. You can put whatever evaluation criteria you want in here. It actually handles multiple if you want, but I've just used the default, which is the submission helpful, insightful, and appropriate. That I got from LangChain. That's the default evaluation criteria at LangChain when using their evals. I also reminded that prompt engineering practices, best practices should be used. And then I found it's very helpful to include in here any variables. And you could build this programmatically. I have this for one of my libraries I use for testing locally, where it just automatically builds this prompt up for me and adds them based on anything that's in curly brackets here. Cool, so respond only with your optimized prompt template. I'm just going to hit submit. I found it only really works with GPT-4 and only works quite well with temperature of 1. Temperature higher than that, it starts to get a bit crazy. Temperature lower, it tends to get a bit boring. That's usually what works for me. Here we go. It's pretty smart because you see here, Imagine you're head of a creative marketing team, tasked with coming up with catchy and appealing names for a product. The product is blank. You're looking for unique and innovative names akin to how brand names like Google, Nike, or Tesla stand in their respective industries. So it's used some examples here, and it hasn't given much structure in the prompt, but I think it's done a pretty good job. And we could take this, just going to copy this, and then we're going to set up another one. And then we're just going to put this as a pair of shoes that fit any foot size. That was the product we wanted. And then I'm just going to submit there. And it comes up with pretty good names. So there you go. It's created a prompt. Now, I didn't stop there. We have another template because I found that you don't always have like test cases, and sometimes you just want to be able to just do it just from a task specifically. This one also follows something from Prompt Royale, but you can see that it's using very similar system message, and then you still got the different best practices there. But the difference here is that we say the prompt template must take context from the user in the form of relevant input variables surrounded by curly brackets, i.e. this. And that was like the hardest part to get. Once it does that, it does a pretty good job. And the other thing I had to kind of mention is these placeholders should be labeled in the template as they will be replaced with values. Because one thing I found that it would do is here it said, please take the product category. That's done correctly, that's labeled it. But sometimes it would just say, please take the, and then product category, and then it wouldn't label it. So when we insert the product category in here, it wouldn't work, right? Because it would be referencing product category down here, but that text wouldn't be in here anymore, if that makes sense. And just to show you an example there. So I'm just going to get rid of this. And then, so if we put in product category, shoes, and then we're going to say target audience, say home. And then a distinct feature is, just say, extra comfortable, and then it knows because it can see that like the target audience is up here, so then it can infer from these examples, if that makes sense. That was quite easy. And then here we've got some more stuff. We have to repeat the product category here in this template, put it in shoes, and then target audience, say at home, and then this would be cool. So see how that worked? Okay, cozy comfort homemaker. Oh god, it's called it homemaker. That's pretty terrible. But you get the idea. This was a task to generate product names. We could change whatever task we want here. This could be rewrite some text in the style of the author, and then see what template comes up with. And you can see it's using all the different principles. The really cool thing here is that it actually inserts these variables in, so it makes it a real template, and it does a pretty good job of doing that. Cool. Yeah, hopefully that all makes sense. There's a lot of prompt engineering principles baked into this as well. And you can see that it does a good job because we've given it a lot of hand-holding here. And I think I used to try and do this back before the update. And because it didn't really know what prompt engineering was, it wasn't particularly good at it. But now it does, because it's in the training data. So this opens up, I think a lot of prompt engineers haven't really tried this again recently, and this opens up quite a lot of stuff you can do. You can go even further, like you can get it to generate cases, like these things that go in here. You can get it to generate good examples. You could also get it to rate the responses as well. So that's something I've been working on for my Thumb library, which should be out soon. All right, hopefully that was useful.